This is another one of those episodes for me that just felt like it went by way too fast. Right there, similarly to the cliffhanger that we had when Thorfinn and Snake were about to have their confrontation, I was feeling it. I was into the episode. I was zoned in. I was so ready for everything that's about to happen. And then that character goes to throw a punch at Thorfinn, and we immediately cut to credits, and I'm just like, no! Like, I'm right there. I want it. I need it. I need to feel it. I need to just watch Thorfinn get punched a lot. But don't get it, but that's all right, man. It was a great episode overall, so let's talk about it a little bit. This is Season 2, Episode 21, which means there are only 3 episodes left of Vinland Saga Season 2, which is also unfortunate. It's going to really throw my Mondays out of whack, man. Like, every single Monday, I pretty much get up, I go to the gym, and then I come home, and by the time I get home, the new episode is on Netflix, and I've been watching it, man. I mean, I can go back and rewatch it in the English dub, which I plan to do, but, like, there's just something about Mondays. It gives me a reason to wake up in the morning, you know? It's just a reason to get out of bed, and I need as many of those as I can possibly get. So it's gonna change my Monday routine, man. But all things must eventually come to the end, and I do believe that this season has been doing pretty well overall. I know there are a lot of people that dropped it, which is, you know, it was expected, it was inevitable, but I think, like, most of the fans, along with critics and along with just the anime community in general, I think most people are really, really digging the season, and that bodes well for a potential Season 3, which I don't think has been officially announced yet in any capacity. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Season 2 has done well enough that I would say it's pretty likely that we're going to get a Season 3, especially continuing it with the same team, the same animation style, so that will be great. Let's talk about this episode in particular. So, once again, this episode is kind of structured as in a Part A and Part B. The first half of the episode really focuses on the character of Olmar. Now, the entire Kettle family is completely fucked up. You got Kettle himself, who we talked about to death. You got Thorgil, who's just this, like, maniacal warmonger that just attempted to kill the king. I mean, I get they're in war. I mean, I get it, but, like, you know, that's a thing. And then we have Svedkul, who is this elderly man that has been through it all, seen it all, and just has this wisdom, but his body is kind of falling apart. You know, he can only do so much, and he just feels like he wants to continue working. His life is farming, and so, you know, he's just been through a lot, and he kind of works as like a like an overseer of everything on the farm. Like, he's not in power anymore. It's like it went to Kettle, but he's still very respected by everybody. But I feel like he's an observer. You know, he's really the one that kind of noticed, like, the integrity of Thorfinn and Einar, and was able to get that sort of feeling out of Thorfinn that nobody else could really seem to get, to let him know that sometimes being empty is the best way to be, because then you can begin to rebuild yourself. You can fill yourself back up again. You know, he was the one kind of leading him through that, being sort of like a mentor character to him. Same thing with Arnid and to Snake to some degree also, you know. And then we get to Olmar. Well, I guess we have Kettle's wife too, but she's just... yeah, who cares? But then we get to Olmar, who has had a pretty interesting journey throughout Season 2 since we met him, because he's very brash, very arrogant. He is going to be the heir to the farm. You know, Thorgil went off and joined, you know, different warriors and became the kind of man that he is, but Olmar was still here on the farm. So that was the guy that Kettle was hoping to pass the mantle to, but he had this rebellious nature in him, mostly because of the reputation that his father had. He wanted to be somebody like that. He wanted to show off his skills. You know, Thorgil is, of course, a very strong, capable person, and so Olmar wanted to be like that, and he was waiting for any opportunity to show that to anybody that would bear witness to him, anybody that could possibly see that I can show my strength and I can do something and I can feel powerful. And to a degree, I get it. And I mean, I also understand. I'm not sure exactly how old Olmar is supposed to be, but I think for a lot of men, I think that when you reach that sort of age where you're transitioning into true adulthood, you know, you do have sort of this... I don't want to say desperation, but you do sort of have this need to want to prove yourself to people. You know, you want to be valued for what you can do, right? But I think with Olmar, it is just way too hard into one direction and not so much understanding what he could actually do that could be useful, that could be beneficial to people, that could be, you know, being the head person on this farm and kind of being this leader to everybody and, you know, kind of providing something that perpetuates life instead of taking it away, doing something that benefits people, giving people work to do. Like, there's so much good he could do, but he couldn't really see it because he was sort of just blinded by that, like, early on, you know, sort of lust for, you know, conquest and battle and prowess and all of those kind of things, which is, like, understandable to a degree. And it's, like, necessary to some degree, too. But I just think that Omar, because of the privilege that he was brought into, he didn't really see what was in front of him, and he just wanted everything else that was away from it. You know, it's like the grass is always greener on the other side. You know, if you have a lot of privilege, sometimes you don't even see it. You don't even notice it. You don't even recognize it because it's just secondhand. You're just used to it, you know? So he had this entire embarrassing moment where when they went to visit the king, he wanted to show himself off, couldn't even cut a pig. Everybody was laughing at him. He felt humiliated, and so he lashed out. And of course, Canute manipulated that situation. He caused a moment where, you know, it would cause Omar to kill one of the men, which was the excuse for him to come to the farm and actually take it over. But the reason Canute knew that would happen is because he saw the kind of person that Omar was. He saw that desperation. He saw that desire to prove himself so hard that he would go to whatever lengths possible in order to do it. And that is a weakness. It's not knowing, it's the weakness, I guess if you boil it down, would be not knowing the right time to act, not knowing the right time to strike, to kind of stay back, to stay stoic, you know, finding that moment of, so I guess, security within yourself to not have to do that, right? To know when it's important to fight back and maybe when it's important not to. And I think that Omar was so stressed and so disappointed and so humiliated that he lashed out, caused Thorgil to join in, and that's what created all of this chaos. And so there's the moment here in this episode where they're trying to decide, you know, they're kind of regroup and they're trying to decide if they continue the battle or if they surrender, right? And of course, Thorgil doesn't want to surrender, and Svedkil says, you know, you're not actually in charge right now. You know, you went off and did your own thing. So the person that Kettle's still alive, but he's just all fucked up, so he can't make the decision. So the person that it falls to is Omar. And so he is responsible to make this decision. And this is a big decision because he's got his brother right there that he's always admired and looked up to. The, you know, the backstory of Iron Fist Kettle. He still doesn't realize that his dad was a facade. And he just witnessed all of this death, all of this pain, these people that have lost their limbs, that will never be able to hold anything in their arms again, people that are injured to the point where they're saying, please just kill me. You know, he's seeing the true result of basically what he is, but on a wider scale and on a much more violent scale, a less protected scale. You know, these are people that just went out to do this because Kettle told him so. You know, Omar still has a little bit of privilege to the point where he doesn't have to do that per se. So, you know, he's seeing the result of people that are acting, you know, outward on their emotions the same way that he did, you know, where he just got so pent up and felt humiliated and then lashed out, right? Similar to Kettle, you know, where he's just like so built up and he couldn't stay back and view the situation from like a third party perspective. He's just so attached to his own identity, his own emotions, that he just kind of like threw everything at Arneed, at you know, all of his farmhands, telling them all to go fight, knowing full well in the back of it, he had to have known full well in the back of his mind that he was just going to get most of them killed, which is what he did. So Omar's here, and I like how he has this particular line that says, I'm paraphrasing, but he says something along the lines of like, I didn't have the bravery to be laughed at, which I think is like a really powerful message in many ways, because like, I mean, we all know what it's like to be humiliated, probably, right? We've all had moments in life where we did something and people laughed at us, or people looked down on us, or we looked inferior. And it makes us want to strike back. You know, it makes us want to hurt other people the way that we've been hurt, you know? And to have the strength or have the bravery to be laughed at without having to lash out and not care what other people are going to think about you is like a different level of bravery that I think that could probably benefit a lot of people, right? I think a lot of people make dumb decisions when they do feel, you know, discouraged like that, where they're so desperate to prove themselves. And it's a double-edged sword of life, you know, because I understand on the one hand, I understand both perspectives, you know. I understand wanting to show yourself to not be a joke. I understand what it's like to live with the perception of being a joke or being inferior or being or looked at pathetic, like you're pathetic. I mean, I've felt that many, many times, you know. But I also understand that there's a lot of times when people think those things about you that you're not going to be able to change their opinion, number one. And number two is, why are you valuing their opinion so highly? You know, it's a really shitty situation because obviously Kettle and his family are losing everything. But by surrendering, I mean, you are saving their lives, right? You're saving the lives of whatever farmhands are left and your family, you know, and Torgil, that he doesn't care, you know. So it's, I don't know, man. There's something really interesting about it. There's something... And I understand both sides of it, you know, I do. I understand the idea of fighting to the bitter end and going down swinging and all of that. But I also think it's really interesting that Olmar gets to make this decision, and he's making the decision based on being... I mean, he feels regret from before for himself. There is that self-pity there, but he's also... Remember that when you are in a leadership position like this, you have to make decisions... not just on what you want, you have to make decisions on what's going to be best for everybody. And I think by making this decision to surrender, you know, Olmar is saving the lives of a lot of people. You know, the situation itself is super shitty, but there's some times in life where you just can't win. And you could go down swinging, you could just die, you could have everybody killed in this like battle to the death of glory of protecting this farm forever. And there's an aspect which I do understand about that, but there is also more hope for more people if they do surrender and all of these people can be spared. There's also Canute on the other side who is telling people not to pillage. You know, Floki is here, which is just like, I hate this guy. Every time I see him, I just get angry, his square face. And don't forget that at this point in time, you know, Thorfinn still does not know that Floki was the guy that commissioned Askeladd to kill his father. Like, he still doesn't know that. So Floki is just here, you know. Askeladd wasn't really the one responsible for it. I mean, he was, to a degree, but, like, only because Floki paid him, you know. So he's right here. What was I talking about? I don't know. So I think that it's going to do a lot more good than bad. And I also just think it's interesting that it's Olmar making this decision after, you know, kind of paying for his mistakes, or trying to own up to his mistakes. Now, the second half of the episode focuses on Thorfinn. In the manga, I just flipped through recently. By the way, this is chapter, what is it, 94 and 95 in the manga. In the manga, Einar and Thorfinn go to try to speak to Canute together. Like, Einar tries to talk him out of it, but he goes with him. In this episode, they kind of changed it where they had Thorfinn go off at the end of the last episode, and then Einar finds out and then kind of runs after him. It doesn't really change a whole lot, but it's just an interesting little change that they did. Maybe they just thought it would be better if Thorfinn went by himself, not involving other people, you know, not trying to get Einar to stay back, that kind of thing. But anyways, Thorfinn walks right up to these dudes, which I love, you know, unarmed, and it's just like, I know the king, you know, we got a history, so let me talk to him. And they're just like, what the fuck? Like, I can tell you're a slave. No, you know, you don't represent anybody, you have no power here, you have no authority here, who are you? Like, get the fuck out of here, right? And Thorfinn's like, just let me speak to the king. I gotta speak to the king, you know? And he's just not letting it go. And this dude, what's his name? I can't remember this guy's name. He's got a funny name. He's like the Bear Killer or something. Until Thorfinn realizes that they're actually like making bets on how many punches he can take before he gets knocked out or gets killed, basically. And Thorfinn's like, he finds an opportunity, right? It's a unique decision that Yukimura did, because Thorfinn is, again, trying to figure out how to do what he needs to do without enacting violence on another person. This guy is obviously like, here, he's ready to fight. He's just like, what are you doing, man? He's punching Thorfinn. So he's like trying to find a way to do this, right? He's taking the punches, and then he realizes they're making bets on him, and he's like, all right, how about this? How about I make a bet? And if I can withstand 100 punches, you let me talk to the king. Which is just like insane to think about. Like, I mean, I don't know how many people have been punched. I guess, you know, I mean, I have in like sparring sessions, but not like on the street, thankfully. But like 100 punches without fighting back is insane. That is absolutely insane. But that is Thorfinn. That is the man that he is, and that is what he's trying to achieve here. So he makes the bet. Go ahead, punch me 100 times. When you're done, I want to speak to the king. And so the bet is on, and the episode ends on that cliffhanger of the guy rushing in. Shit, what was his name? God, I can't remember his name, man. He's the bear killer. I don't know. Has he killed a bear? I don't know. There is somebody in Vinland Saga that eventually does, but I won't tell you who. You can probably guess. Anyways, this was a great episode. I really enjoyed it, man. I think they're doing a great job here. I just am upset there's only 3 episodes left. My Mondays are going to be ruined, man. Really important messages this episode. I do see the confliction. I do see both sides, but I also understand. I don't know. I guess I just understand Olmar. I don't know. Maybe I see some of my younger self in him. Maybe I just understand. I mean, I don't know. There's something about it that just like I didn't have the courage to be laughed at, which is like really strong. I don't know. Anyways, let me know what you guys think of this episode down below. Leave all your comments and opinions. Also, if you are an anime only, leave all your theories about what's going to happen next in the final 3 episodes of Season 2. Let me know all that down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up. Also, comment down below because all those things will help it in the algorithm. If you want to support the channel on a deeper level, I do have a Patreon, channel memberships turned on, a merch store. All that stuff is linked down below. Other than that, guys, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll talk to you next time.